Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BAI New York office event, The Future of Higher Education in the AI Age. My name is Eugene Yaguchi. I serve as Vice President of the University of Tokyo. I'm here to give just pre-announcement about sort of logistics. But we will have question and answer session later. For those of you joining us via Zoom, please type your question in the Q&A box if you'd like to ask questions. And those who are here, please raise your hand, and our staff will be bringing a microphone to you later. Also, this event will be recorded and posted on YouTube channel at a later date. So when you, and please remember that when you ask a question, your voice will be recorded and may be posted on YouTube, those of you who are here in the audience. We may also take photographs for publicity purposes. Your face may be shown on the monitor or video. Please let us know if you wish to be excluded from these, so we will be sure to edit we'll be able to edit it. So that's the household announcement. And I'm going to hand the microphone over to our Executive Vice President, Dr. Kaori Hayashi, for an opening remarks. So, Professor Hayashi, please.
Thank you, Eugene, for your introduction. And good morning and good afternoon. I am Kaori Hayashi, Executive Vice President of the University of Tokyo. I am so delighted to see you all here today for the second day of our event on the future of higher education in the age of AI. As a founding director of the BAI Global Forum, I am particularly thrilled that we are hosting today's event right here in New York, a city at the forefront of the digital age. And 4 years ago, as a professor of journalism and media studies, I submitted a research proposal to explore the impact of advanced information technologies called AI on our society. And I was then eager to examine how the use of AI would affect public discourse and democracy, particularly concerning inequities affecting women and other marginalized groups. And 4 years later, some of my concerns became increasingly harsh realities. Deepfake technology has evolved to the point of threatening the integrity of democratic elections and causing harm through manipulated content. And deepfake pornographic videos are literally ruining the lives of women and children. And there is now real, tangible evidence that AI technology is being used to perpetuate gender-based violence. And yesterday, Julia Stoyanovich, director of the Center for Responsible AI at New York University, said that we need to gain agency and control over AI for the survival of this complex digital world. Especially with the arrival of a generative AI, there has been quite an urgency to think about its ramifications in every aspect of our lives. But achieving agency and control over AI requires a collaborative effort from individuals, organizations, governments, and broader society. It involves a combination of education, ethical considerations, transparency, and regulatory measures to ensure that AI technologies are used responsibly and to the benefit of all. So today, we will specifically delve into the role of universities in the age of AI. As we see AI technology getting out of control as it widens disparities, deepens prejudice, and breeds stigma, what can we do as universities? And what should we be teaching? And what does just evaluation of students and research mean? And what are the roles of academics? What kind of experience should the students have to be better prepared for a volatile and unforeseeable future? Indeed, many universities recently have had to draft statements and policies on how to use generative AI or how to be careful. So this is our second day of the two-day event, thinking about these questions. And yesterday we heard from academics in top universities from humanities, social sciences, and engineering. And today we continue the conversation and have invited two presidents of universities. They are also global leaders in the field of AI in higher education. So it is my great honor to introduce our two guests for the Fireside Chat. President Teruo Fujii, here, is currently in his third year as the 31st president of the University of Tokyo. He was previously the executive vice president in charge of finance and external relations for the university and took the office of the president in April 2021. He has also served as a part-time executive member of the Japanese Cabinet Office's Council for Science, Technology, and Innovation since March 2021. President Fujii received his PhD in engineering from UTokyo in 1993 and specializes in applied microfluidics systems and underwater technology. Under his leadership, the university has taken strong initiatives in strengthening basic research on artificial intelligence, and he was instrumental in the founding of the Institute for AI and Beyond in 2019, which is the parent organization of our forum. He has taken strong leadership not only in research, but he has also been in the forefront of the conversation on AI in higher education. And joining President Fujii is esteemed expert and global leader in higher education, President Joseph Aoun of Northeastern University. We are indeed delighted and very honored to welcome President Aoun today. President Aoun has been demonstrating remarkable leadership in the world of higher education over the last 4 decades. As the 7th president of Northeastern University, he has championed experiential learning and has succeeded so by building alliances around the world. As an internationally recognized leader in higher education, he is leading the global expansion of Northeastern's signature co-op program. During his tenure, the university has created a global university system spanning 13 campuses across North America and UK, quadrupled external research funding, hired more than 800 tenured and tenure-track faculty, and earned the designation of an RI research institution. And prior to his appointment to Northeastern, President Aoun was the Dean of College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences at the University of Southern California. He received his PhD in Linguistics and Philosophy from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and advanced degrees from the University of Paris 8 and St. Joseph University in Beirut, Lebanon. He is the author of numerous articles and books, including Robot Proof, Higher Education in the Age of Artificial Intelligence, published by the MIT Press 2017. He was named the Chevalier of the Legion of Honor and the Chevalier Dans Lord des Palmes Académiques, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the French, by the French government, among various accolades. Moderating our panel is Ms. Esaki-Smith. Ms. Esaki-Smith began her diverse career in 1989 as a financial correspondent in Tokyo. In fact, we worked together back then and went on to play key roles in global communications and education intelligence, making substantial contributions to EF Education First and the British Council, and serving as the Director of Global Outreach for UC Berkeley Extension. And in 2019, she founded Education Rethink, a New York-based research consultancy specializing in data-driven intelligence for higher education and corporations. So before we hand it over to Ms. Esaki-Smith, I would like to extend my gratitude to the Institute for AI and Beyond, the umbrella organization of the BAI Global Forum, as well as the University of Tokyo, New York office for their support in putting this event together. So, thank you for listening to my long introduction. Without further ado, let me pass the mic to Ms. Esaki-Smith to start the conversation.
Hello, everyone. Is this mic working? Yes. Nice to be here. Wonderful company, two presidents of leading institutions globally, so really is a privilege to speak with you both today. We are speaking about the topic of AI, which is quite profound and very complex. But I thought I'd kick things off by maybe bringing you both back to your student days, if you can remember that. I mean, Kaori did a great job of speaking of all your accomplishments, but if you can remember yourself as an 18-year-old deciding what to do with your life, as maybe some who are listening in on Zoom are doing right now, maybe I can ask you both about what influenced your decision-making, what were the factors that you considered? Maybe we can start with President Aoun. You've had a long established career in linguistics. What were the primary influencing factors in that?
Well, I was interested, obviously, in natural languages, and I was interested in the formal aspect of natural languages, mathematical modeling, including machine learning, including language processing, including, the work that we have done in the field is the work that people use when they call Siri or they call Alexa, etc. So that's a domain that interested me a lot from the beginning, because essentially it's a property of the human mind that we can generate language, and this is something that is unique to the human species. So that's why I was interested in that.
And can I ask you, your education has been quite international. You were
Yeah.
educated back home in Lebanon, but then you studied in Paris, also in the United States, et cetera. What were the factors behind your international sort of pathway?
Always seek the places that had the best knowledge, the best research, and that's my journey. So I studied in the French system in Lebanon, then in France, and I came to MIT to study linguistics in the American system, and that's my journey.
And a lot of students today, they feel a lot of pressure to make these decisions. They have pressure from their families, from their parents,
Yes.
guidance counselors, faculty. What did any of those sort of stakeholders play a role in your decision making, or were your decisions quite independent?
No, it's always the case that you receive solicited and unsolicited advice
So
on what to
who was
do.
solicited?
From the family to the advisors to the counselors. But, look, we're going to discuss that later on. Your first step is not going to be your last step. So whatever you study, you can redefine yourself, reinvent yourself. So don't sweat it too much.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, that whatever you study when you're 18 years old is not going to define your career even maybe 5 years or 10 years down the road. So that's a very wise piece of advice. President Fujii, what was I'm sure it was
Journey.
quite different being in Japan. What were the decision-making factors for you?
So just let me explain a little bit about my journey. But my journey is not like a kind of a geographical journey, but like a kind of research topics or research theme. And so I was at the beginning, I was very much interested in the ocean and the deep sea environment, but not really the environment itself, but the technology that makes us possible to have an access to that environment. So that was my starting point, and that's why I chose the University of Tokyo to enter. And then I started off my naval architecture. Engineers in naval architecture by training. But then at a certain moment, I also end up with the underwater robotics for those deep sea exploration. That is a technology that I made during my master's and PhD courses. But at a certain moment, also I started to have some other areas of interest, like which is like a living body and ourselves, and also all these biological things. And then that's where I started to think about how we could apply those. I could apply these, expertise in underwater robotics into the research for those kind of biological studies. And then that's where I started my research work in the microfluidics. And that is already after my PhD. So that exactly what you said. Like so I started the naval architecture for my study, but then end up with this microfluidics. And so that is a kind of journey. I came far away from the the beginning starting point,
But as President Aoun mentions, did you have unsolicited and solicited advice about your path, or were you quite independent in your decision making?
So time to time, I have also fortunately, I could see some of the mentors, and then that I could have the kind of very nice discussion with them, so that I could, finally decide myself and to go in that direction.
You know, it's funny, I think for young people, the idea of a mentor is actually quite important. Did you also have a mentor, President Aoun, in your journey? Or?
Yes, absolutely. Several mentors and throughout my lives.
Can I ask, I think students are often like, how do I get a mentor? How, aside from being obviously brilliant students, how do you get mentors? Or what advice do you have for students eager to get a mentor?
You know, there is no recipe. Just go to a person you like, you respect, you admire, engage the person, and ask them to, to help and to brainstorm with you. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
President Fujii
Yeah,
is the
likewise,
same.
I agree. Yeah, so that I just, came to see the person who is doing something that I want to, pursue or that I'm interested in. So.
And when you were making these decisions, can I ask, was the job that you might get at the end of it, was that a factor too in your, as a young person about employability? A lot of students today are so obsessed with employability. Was that a factor for you as well?
My field was in transition, moving more into machine learning, into the natural language processing, into mathematical modeling of natural languages. And, at that point, I wasn't concerned about employability. I was more concerned about getting into this field. And now, if you see all the demand for linguists in AI, in the AI field, in various tech companies, this is something that was burgeoning, and it's at the beginning. And so you can never predict where your expertise and where your interests are going to lead you.
And now more than ever, I think,
Yeah.
obviously. Were you the same?
Oh, yes. So what is important is, you pursue, or you put your, effort 100% into what you're interested in. And
Yeah.
that very also, it was so very, also for good thing was the, in my case also, my field, underwater robotics, is a kind of relatively very new field. At that time, it's the 1990s and even 1980s, and also the microfluidics also just emerged in 1990s. So always pursuing these new fields that at that time I was interested in. So.
Coincidentally, you both seem to have been able to be looking a little bit into the future in sort of your areas of study. If you were a student today, what would your decisions have been the same? If you're 18 years old now, would you still have gone into linguistics or underwater robotics, or how would today's environment be different from when you were 18?
Knowing what I know today, I would have done exactly what I studied. And today you can do it in a computer science department, or you can do it in a linguistics department or cognitive neuroscience program. So, and obviously the whole idea is that be as interdisciplinary as possible. Don't restrict yourself to one the domain. And that's what I tried to do throughout my career. And look at us. We're both accidental presidents.
Oh, that's actually, there's a career for you, right? An accidental president. So maybe you can explain a little bit, what is the value of interdisciplinary? I know that at the University of Tokyo, they're doing more interdisciplinary study, but what's the value of that kind of study?
I mean, if you look at the kind of modern issues, kind of global scale issues, and then so no such kind of issues could be, I mean, solved by the single expertise. And then before it was like to pursue the single issues. For my case, like naval architecture is a kind of set of knowledge, expertise to build ships, right? So but at that time was a kind of quite, I mean, already comprehensive to learn about shipbuilding in naval architecture department. But now it's not like, so now it's not like that. So it's the issues that you need to tackle or challenge is a kind of rather, I mean, involving multiple expertise and so on, so that you will need to be aware of such kind of, I mean, broad scope of the problem itself.
President Aoun, do you think that students should all increasingly, as President Fujii mentions, be broad in their thinking in terms of what to study, or?
Look, what's happening, for instance, something that I see in our university is that first, we launched something called combined majors. What are the combined majors? We have over 257 combined majors. Those are different from double majors. Those are majors that from the get-go are built by people, by faculty from different disciplines. So if you take, for instance, the environment, the study of the environment, clearly you have people in the STEM fields, and people in law, people in business, people in privacy, people in humanities and philosophy, looking at the ethical implications of what is being done. Similarly for AI, similarly for other aspects. You know, the beauty of the situation is that this has been driven by a demand from the students. So, you know, the traditional majors that were built on disciplines are now less autonomous and less desirable to the students. The demand is there. So essentially, that's what is happening.
Can I ask, though, is that a challenge for faculty, though, to be more elastic in what the students want?
You know, it is a great opportunity for faculty to get to work with other faculty across disciplines, across disciplinary boundaries. And it's always a great humbling experience when the students are ahead of you. So I think it's wonderful, and the faculty embrace that. But ultimately, we're driven. The purpose of being in a university is to do two things: being student-centered and do research. And so, if you are able to be student-centered in an exciting way, and that's something that is. At the beginning, you can be a little bit shy about it, but if you embrace it, it has a great impact. And all these 257 combined majors are done by the faculty, not mandated by anybody.
And President Fujii, do you see the same demand amongst your students too?
Yeah, I think so. But in our case, for research-wise, so we have a university-wide collaborative research organization system, but I mean, for now, not really, I mean, systematized for students learning, so that we will need to think about such kind of, I mean, combined major or whatever, for the students to pursue their interest. And currently, all these professors are themselves already like expand their, I mean, area of interest to, I mean, a little bit outside of their existing, for example, departments and so on, so that so we could think about how we could also respond to the students' demand.
Okay, so you have more students who want broader knowledge, I'll put it that way, but then at the same time, we have AI that is increasingly automating or taking a lot of the tasks away that human beings normally do in the workforce. I just wanted to refer to your book, Robot Proof, which is a way to proof yourself from robots taking over your value in the workplace. I wanted to get sort of comments from both of you about, for students, what is the best way for them to ensure that the skills they have in an environment that is evolving as we speak, I mean, it's just changing every day. How can they best prepare themselves to be robot proof when they graduate? And not just 4 years from now, but maybe looking down the road when they're in their careers. What skills or knowledge should they focus on acquiring?
Okay. So I just, I mean, forgot to tell you one thing about, so not for the robot proof, but also for this, I mean, for example, sustainability issues that we are facing. And then we implemented one program which is called Spring GX, which is a kind of core program for the PhD students. And I mean, the students from all the schools can be participating in this program. So like this way, so they can, I mean, basically pursuing their own expertise, but at the same time, they could learn about this core knowledge about the kind of common issues. So that is what we are now doing. But
Core issues meaning like
Yeah.
current affairs, is that what you're talking
yeah,
about?
right, yeah. And then, so then going back to robot-proof thing. So I mean, myself, so there are two things. And one is the students are basically very good at using new tools and everything. So so they are like, so we don't have to, I mean, stop them to use all these new tools like generative AI and so on. But we made a kind of announcement in April for them and also for the faculties. But so what would be the kind of points that we need to be aware, and then also we need to be careful. And all this, I mean, for example, the generative AI will give some, I mean, misinformation, like it's not the right thing. It will be sometimes, I mean, presented by this system. So that, like this says, so we need to be aware of this point and that point and that, and then, but at the same time, please use it for the purposes that you're, for example, you're studying, and then you will need to see what exactly is this system is doing. So
Is University of Tokyo encouraging students to use AI tools in their study?
right, in a proper way. So yeah.
Are you confident that students know how to use it in the proper way?
Right, I think so. Yeah, and also
Great
for the
faith in
faculties
students.
also. Yeah,
faculty as well.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, students are ahead of us in terms of using ChatGPT and all the generative language models. But going back to your point, I mean, robot-proof is a lifelong journey. It's not a journey that starts in college and stops when you finish college. So essentially, if you look at, for instance, AI, and as the president said, AI is not restricted to large language models. AI is much more comprehensive than that, and we can come back to that. But essentially, we should start by looking at the impact of AI. AI is going to displace many jobs and is going to redefine many jobs. By certain calculations, up to 50% of the professions we know are going to disappear or be completely redefined within the next 20 years. And we're already seeing this sign of that. So therefore, the question for us is, what's the mission of education? The mission of education is to help people become exactly robot-proof. How do you become robot-proof? So first you have to understand, what I call humanics, namely understand, and humanics is based on the integration of three literacies. You have to have a tech literacy, understand machines and how they function. Data literacy, understand the product of these machines. And focus on the human literacy, namely what is it that we humans can do that machines cannot duplicate for the foreseeable future, like the ability to be creative, entrepreneurial, globally agile, looking at you and at your body language, and are you with me, are you not with me, working with in groups and try to understand precisely the dynamics, etc. So essentially, we are expecting our students to be versed in integrate the three literacies: tech literacy, data literacy, and human literacy.
Which is the most challenging, do you think, to develop literacy?
The integration, not to be in a silo. Not to be in a silo. If you have to Dr. Hayashi in her presentation, for instance, was mentioning the impact of AI on humans in terms of discrimination, biases, gender biases, women biases, privacies, etc. All these are factors that go beyond understanding one discipline or one literacy. It's the integration and studying constantly the implication of that is going to be essential. And that's the first step. We'll come back to the other steps.
If I can ask President Fujii to build upon what President Aoun just said, in terms of these students, they have to become more creative, more adaptable, master the 3 literacies. Is that going to be a challenge for you leading the University of Tokyo, or
So yeah, so that's why I mean also all this integration part cannot be learned easily just in the classrooms. So that I think we let students learn from their experience. So that's why I also put emphasize on all these experience-based learning. And then, so President Aoun is also, talking about experiential learning in his book, and that is exactly the way that we need to promote as a university.
You see, being robot-proof means that you are understanding machines, you're understanding the impact and going beyond and focusing on what you can do that machines cannot do. And going back to what the president said, I completely agree. The experience is going to be key. So for instance, for us at Northeastern, the students go on long-term internships of 6 months, 4 months, 5 months, called co-ops. And what do? They are integrating the classroom experience with the world experience. But there is another phenomenon that is allowing them through that to be robot-proof. Machines at this point cannot do what is called in psychology or cognitive psychology far transfer. They can, whereas humans can do far transfer. So we can take a knowledge from one domain and apply it in a direct and indirect way in domains that are completely remote from what we originally started. So to give you an example, we had a student, she went to Bosnia when there was a war in Bosnia. She was studying English literature. She went to work for a not-for-profit. And they were snipers there. And the snipers were essentially targeting civilians and saying this bridge is safe and this street is safe. Where she put together a program that will warn the citizens that those are fake news, and it had to be live and immediately accessible. So when we asked her, how did you do that? She said, well, it's simple. When you study English, you are decoding text. What I did, I applied this decoding to debunk fake news and build programs along these lines. That's a phenomenon of file transfer that machines cannot do now. So essentially, this is why, going back to what the president said, the experience will make you also robot-proof. It's not, because essentially you are able to test your knowledge to see how you are faring, what you're good at, what you're not good at, what others are good at, and also apply it in domains that are remote from what you originally started with.
So do you think these real-life experiences that students can have through co-ops or internships and that kind of thing, do you think that will help them be more creative, have more critical thinking abilities, be more adaptable in an environment that demands adaptability? President Fujii, what do you think? Is that, in Japan, is that something that you think students will develop those necessary skills?
Oh, yes. So yes, I think so. And then at the same time, students also could think about what would be for example, the subject that they also need to learn in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Through that experience, and then like this way, it's kind of so all this experience-based learning is very important.
You mean they can see where the gaps are?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
And they see the gaps, and they see, for instance, we have students coming back from a co-op in a company or in an organization, and they say, look, there is an opportunity for me to do a startup, to start something because it hasn't been done, or to start a not-for-profit because this, village in Africa, they don't have access to water. They have to go to a remote place. I can build with them an environment where not only am I building the infrastructure for water, but putting a system in place, for instance, a software that will allow each citizen in the village to see what kind of quota and allocation and et cetera they can have access to. There are many opportunities, but the point is, take risks, for the students to take risks, face the unknown. That's with experiential learning, you are learning to face the unknown and to face it in multiple contexts. And, and you fail, you succeed, and failure is fine.
Yeah, and risk-taking isn't normally associated with higher education either. I mean, becoming a student, it's like, do I major in this or do I major in that? It's not normally associated with risks. But you're talking essentially about sort of the dismantling of the ivory tower. Is that, can I say that? Is it?
Absolutely.
Oh, can I say that, President Fujii?
Exactly.
I mean, but what is lost in that process, though? I mean, for every gain, there must be a loss. If you have students who are out there in real life scenarios, testing out what they've learned in school, more students studying multiple subjects, is there anything that's lost? I mean, are students not going to want to study?
Listen, the premise of your question is such that you bias the question. You bias the answer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not an AI.
And so essentially, I look at it from a different point of view. What is gained? What is gained is that the students now are actors. They are not recipients. And that's essential, because ultimately, why are we educating students? Because in order for them to change the world. And you have to do it. You have to practice it, not talk about it. And also it displaces us, faculty, from being the center to being student-centered. Because essentially when the students go on these experiential opportunities that the president mentioned, then when they come back, they are more versed than you in reality. So they can question us.
I would imagine they'd be more demanding of the faculty if they come back with the experiences and that knowledge that they're not going to be as docile as they might be. Is that going to be a challenge for faculty?
Oh yes, very much. Yeah, but also at the same time the opportunity for the faculties. So as President Aoun said, and also so coming back to the topic before, so it is also nice for the students. So even if they fail, then they can also find out some other things or some other directions to go. So that is also another, the good opportunity for them to think about what would be the...
I mean, failure, that's a very interesting point. Right. Failure is a big word for young people. Yeah. What is your view about failure? I mean, there's a lot of focus on succeeding, doing well on the SATs, on the tests in Japan, to get good grades, get in the best school. How does failure play a role in the age of AI and these new types of students and learning?
If you test things, if you're being creative, whether you are doing it within the confine of a campus or outside, you are going to be successful, and you are sometimes not hit a dead end and not be successful. Now, the beauty of the environment such as university is that you can succeed or you can fail fast and start again without having to pay a price. So that's the beauty of an academic setting.
Yeah, exactly.
So taking a risk within a safe space, is that what you mean?
Absolutely.
They can come back.
They can come back, yeah, exactly. And if I can just ask too, with regards to AI, there is such a big focus on generative AI because of ChatGPT. Do you have a comment to make about AI overall?
Oh, yes. So, with the emergence of ChatGPT, it's been just 1 year since. And so then all the discussions around AI is very much concentrating on this generative AI. But as the President said, AI itself is a rather kind of very broad scope. So for example, at my time, when I was working on these underwater robots, and that was also, I was trying to use all these neural networks for control of the robot itself. And it is more related to, not related to language, but related to dynamics of the system. So like this way, there are so many different types of AI, and AI itself is a kind of really broad areas of expertise. So So we can, talk about so many different types of AI. So
And generative AI is just a
it's
small
one of
part of
these,
that.
small portion of that.
And also, I mean, so much of AI is dominated by a few big players. I mean, do you have any comments to make about that, the role that higher education can play in a world that is currently dominated by a few big tech companies?
Yeah, actually, we were discussing that. President Fujii, would you like to start? Because we were discussing the three of us before. So I'll let the president start
Okay.
and add to that.
Right. Okay. So all this large language model is, requires a huge amount of computational resources, and then so that all these big tech companies are basically now dominating all these large language models. But then at the same time, this, to make this large language model, so they all need the knowledge which is created from everywhere, so from including ourselves, academia. And then academia is basically trying to make all this data or knowledge accessible from the public, so that we would like to make all these things open to the public. But then those knowledge or data will be used for all these LLMs, so that if there's a way for us also to take all these, part of the forming the new models as a academia. So that might be a kind of good also direction to go. So.
President Aoun, do you have a comment about?
No, I completely agree with President Fujii. We are in a situation that is interesting because essentially what those language models can do requires billions of dollars. Why? Because it's computing and at a very high level. We in academia, no matter what your budget is, what your endowment is, what your wealth is, we simply don't have the money to pour into that. So from this point of view, as the president said, we are dependent on them because they have the money, they have the applications, and they are doing it. But at the same time, and I completely agree with President Fujii from this perspective, they are using models that were built within academia and also within industry. But if you look at, for instance, these language models, they are still at the beginning, and they're very crude. It's brute force. That's how we call it. And what is the next step, or what are the next steps? The next steps is to try to start thinking about and building more refined models and algorithms that will allow you to sift through the data by not using this enormous amount of computational power that you need. And that's where the universities can reinsert themselves, because as the president said, this is the forte of the universities. We build those models, we build those theories, we build those algorithms. But so essentially, in this case, businesses are ahead of us. Even though they use some of the products that the universities built. But the second aspect is that we are going to reinsert ourselves, as the president said, but the conclusion is that, in fact, we in higher education don't have the monopoly of research anymore. This is not the case. So therefore, it's a complete interplay between industry and universities. And as the president said, we are open in our research, we are open, and therefore, this is going to create some tensions between the openness of what we do and the fact that companies want to maintain this ownership. And this is an interesting tension.
So the tension will lead eventually to a better outcome, or are you hopeful for a closer collaboration between higher education and industry, or what do you see happening?
Okay. So there are two discussions around. So the one thing is the problem is this large language model is not really transparent for now. It's difficult to explain what's going on. But at the same time, it's a kind of extra. If we could find out what's going on experimentally, so this would be the kind of quite very interesting, topic to study. So how all this, knowledge or knowledge itself is, or like a mechanism of this, LLM is, represented by this huge amount of parameters. So it's a kind of two things together. So.
Yeah, and so, to build upon what the president said, I completely agree. And going back to your point about tension, that there will be tension, there are tensions, and that's healthy, because the way we approach it, as the president said, is transparency, is open. When you deal with the businesses, by definition, they want ownership, and that's good. It's good that you have these tensions, because we at the same time we're collaborating, and at the same time we're pushing each other from this perspective. The other aspect is that companies would like to see results on a short-term basis, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. At the same time, universities have the luxury of working on short-term, mid-term, and long-term basis. And that is an advantage that we have. So these opportunities to work together, we can learn from each other.
It could be more complementary then in that way.
Yeah, and we can learn. We have examples, because essentially our discoveries are discoveries that are not necessarily, in general, in higher education, immediately scalable or immediately put in the market. Yeah. That's where companies can come into play and work on these aspects. And this historically has been beneficial to both.
And if I can just build on that a little bit, what is that tension, as you mentioned, going to be like in terms of retaining talented students in academia? And not losing them to high-paying jobs in big tech companies. What is the lure of academia going to be like as we move forward?
Okay, so that is, for me, it's kind of, so they could think about kind of really, long shot. So they could do something which is kind of in a very long-term view. So like not the immediate use in a commercial way. So that so this, for example, Institute for AI and Beyond is established to think about what we can do in the cross point between AI and physics, or AI and brain science, and AI and society. Yeah. So now, as we hear for now, yeah. So like this way, so students can do everything that can be useful, or that can be of their interest, but that will be, from the very long-term viewpoint. So that is kind of what attract them. Yeah.
To academia, do you mean?
Yeah, right, to academia.
Let me give you an example, real examples. We have faculty who have been approached, and because industry wants to recruit them. Okay, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Metas, etc. So essentially, what we decided to do is have the faculty have joint appointments between industry and the university. Why did we do it? Because we did it as an experiment to see what is beneficial to the company and what is beneficial to our students and the faculty. And we noticed that, in fact, the faculty were very happy with that, because they were able to work on some short-term projects with impact and have the luxury of working on long-term projects with PhD students there. Once the PhD students are finishing their dissertations, etc., they have enormous opportunities now in industry, and that's what you were referring to. Yeah. We don't consider that we are losing them. We are considering that, in fact, those are going to be bridge builders, ambassadors, between the university and the companies. So can we, to go back to what we were discussing before, can we match the salaries that those companies are giving to the students or to the faculty, the answer is no. It's not possible. So therefore, you have to look at it from a different perspective. How can we build successful partnerships that will preserve the openness that the president was talking about, and at the same time allow a win-win situation with the partners?
And ultimately, the students benefit to have faculty that have a foot in both
Yeah,
industry
absolutely.
and also in academia. If I could talk a little bit about academics, there's a huge drive among students to study STEM subjects because of technology and AI, as well as business. And then there's also, at least in the United States, there's been the collapse of humanities, the study of humanities. President Fujii, what comment do you have about that in terms of, in an age where people need to be creative and have critical thinking, which are skills normally associated with studying the humanities? How can we keep students interested in those fields that don't necessarily translate into a job in academia or a job at a big tech company?
Well, I think, so students are not, always looking at this STEM area and then having those, good pay after their graduation. So then also another important thing is, so that basically I would like them to pursue their own interest. So that can be a humanities or social science part, and also like a STEM areas. But at the same time, what is important is if you deal with all this data or AI or kind of digital thing, but then there's always kind of human activity behind. So, and that part, we cannot, be removed away. So.
The humanics.
Yeah, humanics. Yes, exactly. So.
But how do you foster creativity and?
So, for instance, let me give you very specific examples. I referred to the fact that we have combined majors. Those combined majors are bringing together the STEM fields and the human fields, the humanities, social sciences, etc., the law, etc., etc., and they are combining them. What we saw is that the students now are embracing precisely this integration. So if you look at it, and if you go back to the origin of what the university started focusing on, we started focusing on first, it's not an ordered set, so let me mention it in this way: understanding the physical world. Second, understanding the living world. Third, understanding, the human world and the interactions. So if you look at it, the purpose of the humanities and social sciences were precisely to expand and explain not the human interaction, how we deal with nature, how we deal with the living world in general. Now, for the first time ever, we have a new dimension, the AI world, which is a virtual world. So the AI world is going to impact the physical world, the living world, and also the human and social interaction. So we have an opportunity as universities to rethink our educational system. For instance, in the United States, we have something called the core or general education. And the students go through that. They are focusing on the first three, but now integrate the AI and bring the humanities and the social sciences to reflect precisely on these issues of privacies, of biases, of opportunities, of inequalities, and et cetera, et cetera. The humanities and social science are here to help you and navigate the world, not to be withdrawn from the world.
Yes.
So I think that's a great opportunity. And we are seeing now that when the students are facing that from an integrated perspective, there is excitement, there is no problem.
Yeah. So as you mentioned earlier, it's just more a blending of more specialties than it is about being articulated in one specific thing. You kind of gave a little bit of a bird's eye view of the state of AI. A big question is like, who's in charge? If we can talk a little bit about governance. At the university level, or maybe even more so, do you have any comments to make about the state of AI, transparency? We talked a little bit about the algorithms that are not publicly shared. any comments about governance of AI as we move forward in a field that's changing so quickly?
Yeah, so governance of AI, but also it's not only for AI, but the governance of data itself is quite, the important
You mean like
issue.
privacy, those issues?
Right, privacy things, and yes, so that, so it's more, generally, should be more generally addressed, and also there would be, like in the European Union, so there might be some sort of a regulatory, measures to be installed. So, but then at the same time, for AI development, there are a lot of discussions around to, for example, stop at a certain moment the development of this AI and think about what would be the safety thing. And then currently, there are many places where the AI safety institutes are established now, and then so everybody is trying to think about what would be the important issues or important points that we need to think about around this generative AI thing. But that is that is good, and then we need to be aware of this importance of these safety issues. But at the same time, what I myself is concerning is the we don't have so much about the AI to be connected to the physical world. And then currently, all this generative AI is in the domain of the cyber area, so without any gravity and so on. So basically, it's a language-based thing. But at the same time, if you think about this automated driving, so that is a part of AI technology. But that is, directly connected to the physical world.
So you're saying AI is hard to govern because it's not a tangible thing? Is that what you mean, or?
Oh, no. So it's a current discussion is all around this generative AI type of thing. But AI is a kind of with a broad scope that we will need to think about, for example, physical part of the AI, the use of AI, so in the physical world.
Yes. Understand.
That's an important point. So what is the fear? The fear that we are talking about is that the AI and the AI-generated tools will do harm, okay, and will do harm in ways that either can be controlled by certain actors, or they become autonomous from us. We humans have created those systems, but the systems become autonomous and don't respond to us. So therefore, that's a fear. And from this perspective, as the president said, there are attempts that you are seeing everywhere, starting with the European Union, to regulate AI in terms of limit the harm, if anything, because AI also is a force for good. Focus on this force of good, but make people responsible, make the companies, make the institutions responsible for that. And that's good. If you ask me, can we, at some point, some people said we should put a moratorium on AI, stop doing research in AI. This is naive in many ways, because if I stop working on AI, it doesn't mean that my neighbor is in another country is going to stop working on AI. So can we regulate the whole world and ask the whole world to stop? Even if this is possible, it's not desirable. What is more desirable is to understand the harm that AI can do, either on a person or on institutions or on the physical world, as the president said, or on the living world, and try to see how we can regulate that, limit that, and not fall into this aspect. So that's what's being done now.
But are you confident that as AI develops rapidly, do you think the checks will be enough to make everybody feel safe or to operate in a safe environment?
Look, in many ways, we have examples throughout our history, the human history, where there are tools that have been created that could have been used to harm people, and they have been used to harm people. And at the same time, those tools can be, can be a force for good. So do I have full confidence that you don't have bad actors? Absolutely not. But at least, what is happening that is becoming a positive for me is that, you have countries that are talking to each other how to limit the harm of AI, even countries that are at odds with each other. And that's a good step.
Yeah. President Fujii, do you agree, or how is your view about the governance as it stands right now?
Yeah, so I agree. So, so all these countries are talking to each other, and then the European Union, and also at the G7 meeting, also Japan also led the kind of discussion around, which is called the Hiroshima AI process, and then how to also make a governance in AI development. So, like this way, it is good for, all of the countries are talking to each other to have some sort of guidelines and regulations over this development. But at the same time, what is lacking is, as I have said, this other, types of AI. So we need to take care of other types of AIs.
Right, not just generative AI is what you're talking about.
Not just,
Understand, yeah.
That's an important point that the president's raising.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if I can go from the macro to maybe the micro before we go to questions, it was very interesting. There was research that was released recently that Generation Z, Gen Z, are responsible in the United States for the revitalization of public libraries and also for shopping malls, despite the fact that there are doomsday scenarios for shopping malls because of online shopping, and then libraries, everybody's reading online. So I was wondering if students might surprise us in the age of AI about maybe being a little bit more interested in human connection, physical places. President Fujii mentioned that about the abstractness of AI, and maybe they just want something tangible. Or I don't know. How do you view students as we move forward in the age of AI?
Oh, okay. So in fact, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
I think it's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they also, I have the impression that they are also doing something tangible by themselves. So then that's what they, looking for.
Yeah.
So that especially for this, when I had a kind of discussion with the students around this entrepreneurship things, and then they really want to do something good for society by themselves. And so like this way, it's kind of, for them, it's not only doing something in the cyber world, but they really want to do something
for the greater good. I
in the
agree.
real world. So.
Yeah, let me give you an example, a real example that happened during COVID. Vegas colleges closed during COVID. We did not on purpose, but what we noticed is that the colleges around us, the colleges and universities that closed, saw a phenomenon, and this phenomenon became a nationwide phenomenon, where the students whose colleges were closed rented apartments around these colleges in order to recreate the human interaction and the human connection. So this Generation Z is craving for interaction. If you tell them, go to college and have online only, they won't go. And so the second aspect, as the president said, those students are driven. They want to impact the world in good ways. We are seeing this engagement that they have in creating social entrepreneurship endeavors. That is real, and so from this perspective, Generation Z doesn't worry me at all.
Yeah, I have great hope. How do you feel about Gen Z? Are you hopeful?
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
And the concern about climate change, sustainability.
Yeah.
Look, they are ahead. They are the ones leading, telling us, you wrecked the earth.
Yeah.
Now it's up to us to fix it, and you're leaving us with a mess.
And then, for
Exactly.
example, in our entrepreneurship class,
Yeah.
so they kind of spontaneously form a group to have a look at the African countries for the opportunities for the social activities. So, like this way, it's so very much hopeful. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I think it might be a good time to take some questions, if there are any questions from the audience or online. Over there. Yep.
I'm looking at the Zoom questions. I'll read, there's a few, but I'll read the first one. What are your opinions of decreasing the teaching load using AI so professors can concentrate on research?
Is the person who's asking the question is a faculty or a student? I guess it's a faculty. I guess it's a faculty.
Although that's a good question. And to be competitive, what do you have any instinctive?
But I think, yeah, I mean, with this generative AI, the students can have an access to some, I mean, compared to the former situation, so have some more knowledge and more information around. So that means that there'll need to be also some more, I mean, sort of mentorship by the supervisors. And that means that, I mean, I don't know, so that they can take time for, I mean, for the during the students, I mean, making some search or like a conversation, having conversation with the generative AI, but at the same time, they will need to have some more, I mean, supervision to the students. So that's what I can say.
My view is that this. I'll take the following response. I'll give the following response. What is the role of a faculty? Okay, I'm not talking about load because I don't know the load. Okay, but what is the role of the faculty when the faculty is there not to impart knowledge? Because knowledge is available everywhere. The role of the faculty is to be the catalyst that will engage with the students to help them think about the issues that are being presented, and at the same time to engage with them so that they start thinking on their own how they can understand these issues, how can they be engaged with them, and then eventually how they can change the world. If this is the role of the faculty, this is not going to change whether you add ChatGPT or not. And if the faculty starts thinking that ChatGPT is going to give me a lighter load, that's dangerous because that means that the faculty is not needed anymore. So the faculty is writing, a ticket for retirement right away. Is this what the person wants?
Yeah, is it?
There's actually another person asking a relevant question on this point. One of the SDGs assertion is no one left behind. If, quote, over 50% of professions are forecasted to be gone or changed in a major way, as one of the comments was made by one of the speakers, what kinds of measures do we need to take to make certain that no one is left behind in the development of AI technology and the enjoyment and the benefits of AI technology?
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
That's a great question. Would you like to start, President Fujii? Okay, let me tell you, I mentioned that robot proof is a lifelong learning endeavor. So people are becoming obsolete. We're becoming obsolete. If we become obsolete, we need to reskill ourselves, upskill ourselves, or reinvent ourselves from scratch. So first, there is a responsibility for universities. Universities focused, at least in the United States, on two dimensions, so 18 to 22, and research, discovery. In fact, our mission is to help people to reinvent themselves and reskill themselves. This in higher education in the United States has been viewed as a second-class operation. So look at what's happening. We're an aging population here in the United States. The number of students 18 to 22 going to college is shrinking. The number of lifelong learners is increasing. So the first thing we need to do is embrace lifelong learning and provide it. That's the responsibility of universities. Second, it's not enough. Government has a role to play. For instance, in Singapore, every citizen has an account that is a lifelong learning account that they can use. In the UK is mandating every company that has a certain size to put 0.5 percentage point of their payroll for lifelong learning. We are going to face a tsunami here. If we don't do that, if we don't embrace lifelong learning, then people are going to suffer, inequality is going to increase. And that's a great question because it's a wake-up call for higher education and wake-up call for society as a whole.
President Fujii, do you have a
Yeah,
comment?
in other words, so we are, I myself thinking that, so we are in a, phase of the changing, in a way like a kind of the development of our economy itself is in a changing phase. So that so I usually say that in the 21st or 20th century, it was like basically we are doing kind of mass-produced way manufacturing and then making things, make many things and hopefully the high quality but low cost, and then people are buying it. So like this way, it was like a kind of quite formulated or systematized area of production is everywhere. And then all these goods are like a source of value. But now it's kind of in the 21st century, we are in the phase of the era of a kind of knowledge intensive or more like a service intensive world. So that it is not like that. So the people want to have their own experience as they want. So it's completely different from the way that people are getting some products from the suppliers. So that in this kind of situation, so we cannot make a kind of right focus on what will be the kind of jobs in the future. So.
Yeah, because I think initially when robotics became mainstream, the fear was the displacement of people on assembly lines, toll booth collectors. And so it was largely blue-collar workers, but with generative AI and AI overall, we're talking about data scientists, doctor, radiologists. So the displacement is going to be at a different, which hits higher education where it hurts because those are the graduates of universities, frankly. So
That's a great opportunity for higher education
Yes.
because those are the people like us who need to reinvent themselves, to reskill themselves.
But do you think, are you confident that higher education, which is notoriously slow-moving, will rise to the occasion? I mean, it's not. I'm not making a jab at the at universities in particular, but they have to pivot very quickly, though. As President Aoun was talking about, the lifelong learning to train people who are not 18 years old, maybe mid-career. What are your views about that?
But even for themselves. So it is this change is leading to the creation of the new jobs in the future. So, which is not existing for now. So
Look, we decided to have 13 campuses now, and all these campuses are a platform for the university. But more specifically, every campus is providing lifelong learning. So you have to go to where the learners are. That's why we did it. We have them throughout the United States, in Canada, and in the UK. And you have to learn that people who are adults, who are busy, have to take the learning on demand whenever it's needed and whenever they can do it. So it's leading us to think differently about how to help people reinvent themselves or reskill themselves. Even our offerings are different. For instance, we were asked by the tech industry and by individuals how can we create a pipeline for a new pipeline for computer scientists. So we started working with individuals who studied history, English, physics, chemistry, whatever it is, and the employers give them an extended co-op on internships for 12, 16 months, and they become computer scientists at the end. We didn't know whether it was going to work. It's working, and it brought in the United States women and minorities to the tech field. So that means that we have to start thinking differently about our offerings with adults and lifelong learners.
bring in a more diverse student.
And not only more diverse students, but to think we in higher education in the United States, we build them and we think they will come. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to think about the need and how you are providing ways to meet this need that is not business as usual. It's a humbling experience.
So it will be more a customer-generated sort of approach. Is
Yeah,
that what
it's
you're talking about?
personalized and customized. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's a very important viewpoint. So, yeah.
Which is a good thing, because ultimately the
Absolutely.
student is the consumer.
And then the individuals should, take the initiative for their own career. So
Yeah.
that in that sense, response
response.
to their demand is very important
Understand.
for higher education.
Any other questions? Any questions in the audience here? I don't know, I guess maybe in closing, do you have any, it's very difficult to predict what's going to happen a year out, much less further beyond that, but any closing comments about higher education, not to quote your book, but higher education in the age of AI? What kind of challenges, maybe the biggest challenges that you see looking ahead?
Okay, so what we want to do, or what I myself is thinking about is, so as I have said, this, customer's viewpoint, or in our case, students' viewpoint is very important. So that how we could, as a higher education, make a kind of right response to that. So that we could, we should come up with a kind of new ways to, for example, organize the students, for example, curriculum, and then how we could systematize such kind of, like the Northeastern University is doing this, as the president said, like a combined measures or whatever. But we will need to come up with the right way to implement into our school system.
I believe that it's a golden age for higher education. Contrary to what people believe, there is a fear. And we are seeing in the United States that small schools are closing, merging. But if you look at the demand and you start thinking that, in fact, the demand is going to be a lifelong demand for learning, as we said, that's an enormous opportunity for higher education, because you cannot restrict yourself only to the 18 to 22. That's essential. But so the growth and the demand is going to be for lifelong learning. If this is the case, if we embrace that, then we have the, as you said, the customers, we have the learners. So people are afraid, my God, I'm losing my the customers. You're not losing the customers. Look carefully, where are they now?
And you're not offering what they need, as President Fujii was
yeah,
saying.
absolutely. Yeah. And the learners are going to be lifelong. So imagine the situation where you are creating, in fact, a club for your alums. And President Fujii was telling me that the alums are worldwide. Our alums are worldwide. They need us. And society needs us. So I think it's a golden age for higher education.
Meaning that you can take a student from 18 and then see them through their career, and if you're
Through
doing
life.
through life, yeah.
Through life, wherever they are. And that's the beauty of that.
And
And for us, universities in Japan, also, we could also see the opportunities from outside. So, like we would like to attract some more foreign students to Japan, and with our declining population, it's for us also it will be a kind of great opportunity.
Yeah, and I think in terms of customers, in the age of high tuition, University of Tokyo is tuition is very low,
Very
and
cheap.
with the strong
Exactly.
the strong dollar, it's getting cheaper by the minute. So it's a great offer. I think
Right.
first class education,
Yeah.
and you have Tokyo is a wonderful city.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier. So, but anyway, thank you very much for your
Thank
insights.
you.
Thank
It's
you
an
so
honor
much.
to be
Yeah.
with you.
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So thank you very much, President Aoun and President Fujii, and thank you so much, Anna, for great moderation. I was asked to wrap up the session, which is very, very difficult. But I got many messages, actually, from the panel, from the discussions, Fireside Chat. I I thought first that what we see in front of us is really changes, but not just changes, but we can state these changes as new dynamics and forces of pushing conventional boundaries maybe forward, or something that we heard many verbs like deleting boundaries or conventional boundaries, or blending or integrating and so on. So among these, for example, we try to integrate the disciplines like humanities, social sciences, and engineering should be integrated in the curriculum. And also we heard about integration of academia and business. President Aoun talked about the co-op system at Northeastern University, and you talked quite much about internships and so on. And we also talked about blending between professors and students, that students have their own knowledge about how to use these tools of AI and so on. And professors can always also learn from students, which conventionally is the other way around. And also, we have also tensions among styles of learning, and it's not about just learning facts. And also, at the end of the discussion, we talked about, you talked about not just stop learning at the age of 22, but we discussed about lifelong learning. And at the macro level, we also you also talked about the governance of data and algorithm. And conventionally, governance should be always something that government is the actor of the governance. But we are now seeing that governance of data and algorithm are now handed over to more to the platform. So we have to always think about tensions between business and academia and society, and also the blurring between the boundaries. And also we talked about the tensions between cyber world and the real world, and also the blending of the boundaries between these two. So it sounds that there are many boundaries, and then we are now overcoming these boundaries, and it sounds good not to have boundaries usually, but I think that makes us also difficult to live, because we need boundaries, especially in the academia. For example, examinations, we have to decide who are the good students, who are not good students, so we have to draw the lines. And we have also the task of licensing students in the professional schools. Well, we have also to do with legal judgments that also takes boundaries. So that makes our lives quite difficult. But as President Aoun said, successful partnership take good tensions, and tensions or resilience or challenges should be seen particularly positive in the age of AI, and also a chance to grow together in the age of AI. So in the conclusion, the president mentioned that what we see in front of us is a golden age of higher education, which I really feel is a great word. And we have enormous opportunities for us at the universities. And I really thank you for these inspiring discussions today. And we have many takeaways from today's discussions. And I think we can continue our conversation of how we can utilize and get chances out of the technology called AI. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we will see sometime again, maybe in New York or in Tokyo. Thank you very much.